All right, everybody, it's another episode of The Modernist Guide. This time we're back with a new TV series, animated series off of Netflix. It's not the only account I have, I promise. With Masters of the Universe Revelation, created and showrun by Kevin Smith, who is basically my dad. I So there's going to probably be a little bit of bias here. I grew up really liking the idea of films where it's just a huge ensemble cast just talking about things in different ways and doesn't just go to Clerks. I really love Soderbergh films, like all of the Ocean's movies for that reason. Just things like that. I think it's fun and witty and dynamic in that way. I love TV shows that were like that. For the most part, like Friends and Frasier and Cheers, stuff like that always made me feel that way too. So it's however you want to put it, whatever it makes you feel. And Masters Revelation, for the most part, after the first episode, feels very Kevin Smithy like that. Even though Kevin only wrote the first episode and the sixth episode, or the first episode of part two. That's the only hand he had technically creatively, but I'm sure he hired a big group of people who understood his vision, because part one is continuing where the original 80s left off. Apparently, I've never really watched the 80s. I was actually a huge fan of the O2. I liked that a lot. I really did. And I liked the new She-Ra that came out, and it's completely different, and you can't super compare things. And I'm going to try super hard to not get into the discourse, but beyond, like, you can't complain about wokeness and masculinity by pitching a fucking fit. You can't do that. That's not how that works. You can't want to be heard by being violent and shitty on the internet. That just kind of proves the point that that form of masculinity, or what you think is missing from He-Man, needs to be missing, because what the way you want things done and it not happening, you getting this way, congratulations. It's why He-Man has to change. Because let me tell you right now, I don't care what gets remade. I don't care what gets rebooted, because I don't believe in tarnished legacies. The thing I loved that originally came out is still there, and I can go back and watch it if I want to. I can find it somewhere, especially with the internet now. So, continuing where it left off, you can still pretend this isn't canon or whatever, but I think it's a really cool love letter to the dynamic of what He-Man always aspired to be. And I thought it was super funny. I saw some people, look, I'm getting in the discourse anyways, aren't I? But some people were using examples of the original, talking about like life lessons learned and stuff, and they kind of fit with what Kevin Smith is talking about with his crew in this now. It's still very much about He-Man. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. He-Man's presumably dead in the first episode, and the rest of part one for 4 episodes is everyone talking and coping and dealing with the idea that He-Man's gone. So it is still about He-Man. He's just not on screen. And if you can't grasp that much, then you don't know how writing works, I guess. That's wild to me. Just because they're not on screen doing things doesn't mean it's not about them. Tila is the main focus because she was the closest to him, but everything Tila does is a reaction to him being gone and her trying to figure out how to fill that void that's there, and also deal with being lied to her whole life. But it's still He-Man affecting her. So it's not that super woke, because it's still this buff, strong, independent woman worried about how her life's going to be now that the man she admired the most is missing. So what is the, wokeness you're talking about that is, destroying the show? If anything, Tila is pining over so much over and over, but it's, not in a shitty, tragic, toxic way of like he was the missing piece, or that, she's super horny for him and misses him and whatever, all that crap. None of that's there, at least. That's all part five is. It's like, it's kind of a Lord of the Rings road trip type thing of everyone just talking about their shit, having some fights, talking about more shit, all their emotions and feelings, everybody from Evil Lynn to Beastman and everything. And this cast is so good. I love this cast. This is such a stellar, wild voice cast to me. Chris Wood is Prince Adam. Mark fucking the God King Hamill as Skeletor. Like, why get mad when you have Mark Hamill as Skeletor? Seriously. Liam Cunningham as Man at Arms. Sarah Michelle Gellar is back in the limelight as Tila. That's cool. Lena Headey as Evil Lynn is awesome. Shout out to Derek fucking Vader being the king. Why is Derek Vader the king? That's so funny. When I heard his voice, I'm like, that's not the voice of the king. That's a very silly, oh well, we're gonna work with it anyways kind of Kevin Smith thing. Kevin Michael Richardson is Beastman. Fucking Henry Rollins and Kevin Conroy are in here just to, have a love fest of voice acting. Stephen fucking Root is Cringer and Griffin Newman is Orko. It's great. I enjoy. That's what I like about Kevin Smith, is that he makes me just like happy that these things exist. And I guess it doesn't always stick the landing. Like, I wasn't wowed, but I felt good watching it. Kevin Smith makes me feel good watching most of his shows when it's not over the top gross out sexual humor, which still happens. This doesn't really have it. There's one scene in part 2 that was pissing people off, but come on, that's like what if fanfic level of shit that people have been joking about for 40 years. So why is it such a big deal that it was put in there, right? So part 2, Skeletor like wins. He died in part 1 too. So it was a void of like nobody knowing what to do anymore because no one's wanting to fight, and it's just a moot feeling. But Skeletor didn't really die. He got back and he finally wins for a hot minute. And so he gets that shining moment. Then he fucks it up because he's a dumbass. And Evil Lynn tricks him by like, hey, we fuck, so we should fuck. Skeletor's like, bone daddy, like. So call me HeMan. I'm gonna leave that in just for the 40 people who watch this, or the 4. We're going to fuck. Having too much fun. But so they're about to fuck, and she's like, you gotta power down or you'll break me. It's stupid. It is stupid. But it's like, He-Man was made to sell toys, so you can't tell me that in the 80s, all the like 13-year-olds then who are like angry, pissed off 48-year-olds now didn't have the Evil Lynn and Skeletor figures, and it's like, and they bone, get it? Bone! And now it's in the show, and that makes it bad? That makes it cringy? Get a life, I guess, is what I'm saying. 'Cause man, to get mad at that. And I think there's this need that, and He-Man fueled this, right? I have the power, and it was sold specifically. Like, there's even a documentary on Netflix called The Toys Who Made Us, and every person that they interviewed who spent years making He-Man toys will tell you the whole goal was to make boys feel empowered and special and unique. So that's what He-Man did. So that's why they're angry now, is because it's not the center of the universe concept. It's now adding to everybody else. Everyone else gets put in the conversation, and it is a goofy slash bang cartoon. And whatever. So Evil Lynn gets the power. She becomes big, hot, sexy, buff lady, ruler of the universe. She becomes master of the universe. And then Tila comes back. She figures it out. She does it. And there's some tragic moments. There's some very insightful, slow moments. And you know what? It was kind of nostalgic for me. Like, if the 80s cartoon people didn't like it, I think the '02 cartoon people will. I loved the '02 cartoon. I thought it was really cool. And I would say any day of the week better than the 80s then. And it had that vibe for me, I think, because of animation and voice acting. There was so much more effort put in. This wasn't made to sell toys. Neither was the '02 one. I mean, they probably wanted it to sell toys like before, but the writing, I think, is more earnest and more allowed to, because standards and practices and the way they saw children's cartoons, even action cartoons in the 80s, was so drastically sterile and flat and uninteresting for the most part in the 80s compared to the 2000s, compared to now. So Kevin Smith got to do probably what he'd been planning for 30 years with all of his He-Man toys, and I'm into it. And I think everyone else should be too, because it's... Let's get something super real but super fast. the internet and the invention of the internet and the invention of shit like YouTube and TikTok and the fact that we have professional grade equipment and software to make things, everything is fan fiction now. Everything is fan fiction. So if you're mad that Revelations is just one guy's fan fiction, everything you watch is somebody's fan fiction. Even original stuff, it's them having watched something else. Off the top of my dome, look at The Orville by Seth MacFarlane. It's literally just a Star Trek ripoff, but people liked it, and it's actually secretly even more woke than Star Trek in some ways. Think about other cartoons going on right now on Netflix, specifically Inside Job, even the She-Ra thing, Kipo and the Wonder Beasts. I love watching all these shows right now. Q-Force even is just writers who think that their idea is really cool to put on paper and then on screen, but it comes from the gathering of watching so many shows as a kid and a teen and a young adult, and that's where we are. And that's just, I think, a good mindset to have. That this is all fan fiction, and I'm sorry your fan fiction didn't get on there because you aren't Kevin Smith. I don't know.
Honey, come give your Uncle C a hug.
What is this shit? What is this shit, man? What is this, some kind of a joke? Did my father send you?
This is a silly rant at this point. I thought the action was good. I thought the talking was good. It's very colorful and just fun. I was having fun the whole time. I wasn't really bothered by anything. Even the deaths, I was like, whoa, that's pretty good. That's interesting. We're like, wow, we're getting there. All right, we're doing stuff. It had an Avatar feel, like Last Airbender feel. I'm gonna say that, and I hope that upsets people because it's dumb to get upset like that. You should be happy that anything gets more Avatar-esque. I don't care if you hate Kevin Smith for some weird reason or not. You know, I'm going off the rails again. I'm sorry. This really is just a rant channel. Am I reviewing anything? What is life? Orko was not shitty for once. I'm gonna throw that out there. I had fun. And anytime a Kevin Smith thing happens and I have fun, that's great. It sucks that he didn't get to do Howard the Duck, but at least we have MODOK, which is also another fan fiction. So yeah, that's it. Oh shit, I'm supposed to grade this. 7.5? 7.5 out of 10, because it is still just like HeMan, and the beats are all there, and it actually doesn't do anything revelating. It just does a new generational outlook, and that's not a problem. And it's sad that you think it is. Maybe. I know who'd I make this video for? 7.5. I love you guys. No. But that's it. Sometimes you gotta watch something and have fun and love that you're feeling good about watching something. Even if it's not super spectacular or jaw-dropping or genre-defying, you know? So, have a great night. Like, share, subscribe. As always, just thank you for listening.